Hey y'all, hi, what's up? How are you today? Let's sit down. Let's sit down and talk about you. Oh wait, this is one way, isn't it? Alright, well in that case, let's talk about me. I have a Patreon at patreon.com/Matthew Donald. There you'll find bonus content for both my podcasts, The Ritwit and Paleo Bites. For the Paleo Bites bonus content, we discuss pop culture featuring prehistoric animals, and this month we're talking about Godzilla vs. Kong. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. That's the Terminator theme. Also, I recognize that there isn't any real prehistoric animals in that movie, but look, when I say it counts, man. It's exactly what it was supposed to be, and it was everything we all dreamed it would be. It's great. So we discuss all about that movie and the monsterverse as a whole, and what could come next, and how it relates to dinosaurs in some way or other. Spoiler alert, it really doesn't, but it's close enough. Link is in the description for where you can sign up to the Patreon. Thank you for your support. Have a lovely day.
Roar, growl, snarl, bellow.
Welcome to Paleo Bites, the podcast that's a real sight for Saurus. You know, like Saurus, like Tyrannosaurus instead of sore eyes. That joke worked better in my head. My name's Matthew Donald, and each week I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus or prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week, I'm joined by reoccurring guest and famed adventurer. I hear there's going to be a film serial series about her life. So, in the vein of the classic sense, Spider Indiana Jones, it's Natasha Krech. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. And I doubt there'll be a film series.
Yeah, like, sometimes I wonder, like, if there's a movie about me, one, it would be a pretty boring movie, but two, who would play me or all the characters in my life?
Oh, that's something I would not want to live to see, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Because, you know, the thing about those film adaptations of historical characters, a lot of times they pick Hollywood actors that look nothing like them, or a lot more handsome than them.
Right?
Like, have you seen October Sky?
I have not.
It's an early Jake Gyllenhaal movie. It's about this guy who was inspired by Sputnik in the 50s, and he wanted to be a rocket engineer, and his idol was Wernher von Braun. And,
oh, boy.
And he built rockets, and he later on went to work for NASA. He was from, like, a small town in North Carolina that was, like, just a coal town, so there wasn't a lot of hope for people there.
Uh-huh.
They either worked in the mines or got a football scholarship if they were lucky.
Oh.
So anyway, it's a good movie, but if you at the end, you know, when they show the real people, I'm like, wow, look at these dorks.
I mean, they did, and sometimes I watch old movies, they did get Charlie Chaplin to play a certain 1940s German leader at one point.
I mean, they had the same mustache. So.
You could tell it was glued on to Mr. Chaplin.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So.
Not that it wasn't utterly hilarious,
Yeah,
with him doing a ballet with a globe.
Okay, that sounds pretty funny. All right, so I guess in the topic of old movies, here's the dinosaur-related question I'll ask you. If you could have like a classic old movie. Now add a dinosaur to it, but specifically make it so that the dinosaur is made from the effects they had at the time. So if you want to add like Wizard of Oz or something, it's got to have like a stop motion, like King Kong sort of, or if it's more low budget, have like a lizard or something. which movie would you do?
Oh, that's interesting because in the morning my dispatcher's often playing old movies, and more often than not, there's these old westerns that pop up.
Oh yeah.
I would love to see a horse swapped for a dinosaur.
Oh,
Even
yes.
a low-budget dinosaur where they clearly just put a dinosaur costume on the horse.
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly. It's like, how can you have them ride it if you can't have them ride if it's stop motion? Like, even like in...
But you could.
I mean, there's some ways to do it. Like, remember in Empire Strikes Back, they had those tauntauns or something
yes.
in the snow? They were stop motion, but they had people ride them. Probably because, like, when it showed the person on it, they had, like, a puppet or something in front of it. But when it was actually moving...
Probably, because
yeah.
they were really talented puppeteers back then.
Yeah.
But yes, I would love to see some horses swapped out with some dinosaurs in some of those old westerns.
Nice. I think that'd be good, too.
And maybe because there's often such cheesy romance, have a dinosaur come in and eat one of them.
Ooh.
In some hilariously fake way.
Like something like how it kills in the Velocipastor, you know?
Or it's just, how those old dinosaur movies?
Yeah.
Where they would have dinosaurs basically knock each other over.
Right, and then like you'd have like superimposed or something with someone in a really bad way.
With cheap, obviously fake blood special effects.
Did a lot of old movies show blood back then? I don't know.
Some of them did.
Yeah, I feel like that was more in the 70s. Or maybe it was. I don't know. That's just the part in movies where I remember everything got real hardcore, and a lot of mainstream movies were basically what would be porn today.
I think in some of the old westerns, it really depended.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would show a gunshot wound, but they wouldn't show anything more than it hit and there was a dark spot.
Yeah.
Because they could have fake blood pellets.
Right, and speaking of dark spot, there'd be a lot of casual racism
Of course.
back then, so...
Of course.
So
Which
somehow they put the dinosaur involved in that. I don't know how. Maybe a Native American is all stereotypical and...
Well, maybe you have the Native Americans ride the dinosaurs and chase out the cowboys.
There we go. Okay, so that's more what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I mean, old movies are fun if you understand what you're looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just the deal. They're good for film history.
They really are.
It is important to look at these old things as products of their time.
And speaking of products of their time, we're talking about a creature that's a real product of its time. Best segue yet. We're talking about Pliosaurus.
Yes.
Or the Moor lizard. Presumably because it's looks more like a lizard than a plesiosaurs, which means near lizard.
Sometimes I wonder with these paleontologists.
There's another nickname for this creature, though, Predator X.
Yeah, when was this discovered? Because that sounds totally 90s.
That one, we'll get to when that one was discovered, and the original one was discovered in the 1800s, though. That doesn't sound like an 1800s thing.
No, it really doesn't.
If it was 1800s, it'd probably be more like Presiosaurus Maximus. No, that's earlier. Never mind. That's Roman times.
No, the 1800s, they had some very lovely vocabulary, actually.
Yes,
so
indeed.
it would probably sound more eloquent than just Predator X.
This was an insurmountable example of predation in... I can't talk. It's too early in the morning for me. All right, so type is a pliosaurid plesiosaur, a group of short-necked, big-headed plesiosaurs that includes the more famous Liopleurodon. Although not really, that one. That creature's a bit of an anticlimax. Go listen to the episode I did on that. Mocking Dinosaurs did it dirty, or they did it way too good, actually. Real life did it dirty. Size, 30 to 43 feet, so that's 9 to 13 meters long, 25 to 35 tons.
So it would have been impressive.
It would have been impressive, but if a 9.2 foot / 2.8 meter mandible found is any indication, though, it might have gone up even up to 59 feet / 18 meters long.
Wow, that would have been a predator.
That would have been a predator, been a hell of a predator. Speaking of which, diet carnivore.
Of course it was.
Yeah, this was a predator, man. This wasn't like a manatee or it ate seagrass. There's not a lot of herbivorous sea creatures, is there?
That we know of.
Yeah, the manatee's like the only big one I can think of. I know there has to be others, but
Well, in the fossil record, I'm sure there were several.
there was this giant manatee. I forget the name of it. It was like the size of an orca, and I totally want to do it for Paleo Bites someday.
Nice.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, siren something. I don't know. Anyways, time, Late Jurassic, 156 to 147 million years ago. 9 million years is not a bad range. Location, Europe and South America so far. It was described in 1842. Pop culture appearance. History Channel did a whole documentary on it called Predator X, which is pretty sweet. It's certainly more historical than other documentaries they have about aliens building the pyramids or whatever.
Wait, History Channel did something credible in the past 5 years?
Okay, this was a while back. This was longer than 5 years ago.
Okay, because since at least 5 years ago,
Yeah.
they've been nothing but Hitler and aliens.
And of course, speaking of like racism, that it's always that aliens built monuments that non-white people built. Like,
Well, they claim that aliens built Stonehenge, too.
okay, I guess that's true. That's true, but like the pyramids, it's like, oh, that's this wonderful, majestic thing. It wasn't built by white people, though, so it had to have been aliens. So,
But yeah, like I said, they claim aliens built Stonehenge.
Yeah, when are they gonna claim that aliens built like Notre Dame or something? They go real bold. Some of those old cathedrals were huge for the time.
They really were.
Like if you go like through like the tallest buildings of all time throughout history, after the Great Pyramids, there reaches a point in like Renaissance times where it was just cathedral after cathedral after cathedral.
I mean, the church had money.
They did.
And they paid their architects well.
And it took hundreds of years sometimes to finish these things. Anyways, also the documentary Planet Dinosaur featured a Pliosaurus hunting a Chimerosaurus, a smaller plesiosaur. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And that's based off of like a real story, which I'll get to as well. One thing the Mesozoic had no shortage of was sea monsters. The number of different ways you could be munched and crunched by a bunch of saltwater-ridden teeth was quite remarkable.
The oceans have always been terrifying, but it seems the Mesozoic was one of the most terrifying.
Yeah, I still think the most terrifying was the one where, more recently, where both Megalodon and Leviathan were both swimming about.
But, when they were full grown, they were focused on each other.
I guess that's true. They wouldn't care about a little bit of human.
No, a baby Megalodon. Maybe.
Maybe, but probably not, though. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right, but so how about a monster that's so cool that it's also got an X in its name?
I mean, did they get stuck in the 90s? Because in the 90s, everything was extreme.
It was extreme, yeah. But not in the genus name like the previously covered Zephectinus, which is a big fish that, lived alongside Mosasaurus. But the letter itself was one of its nicknames. Everything sounds cool with X at the end. Like a cheesy 90s supervillain would be like, initiating Plan X.
Or Lunchables Extreme
Yeah.
Pizza.
Go-Gurt X. Remember Go-Gurt?
They're still around.
Oh, it's so cool. I'm gonna go get me some Go-Gurt after.
Somehow they survived the 90s.
Yeah.
Not sure how.
Oh, I remember seeing the commercials for Go-Gurt. You see someone rollerblading with a bright saturated t-shirt on and drinking some Go-Gurt.
You would see also that with the honeycomb cereal. My goodness, some of those
Oh,
commercials.
the honeycomb cereal. I remember that.
Those commercials were creative.
Hopefully.
Weird, but creative.
I miss honeycomb cereal. I don't think I ever even had it, but it looked good. No, maybe I've had it once.
It was okay.
Yeah,
it was
I
a
like
kid's cereal.
I like me some kids cereals. All these boring adult cereals. Raisin Bran. Ugh.
I mean, it's incredible what will survive.
Yeah, I guess that's true. All right, so this X thing, though, is what happened when a particularly large species of Pliosaurus was discovered in 2007. So not quite 90s, in that transitionary
In that
period.
transition time.
That's still a bit late, though, I feel like. 2007?
Yeah, but I feel like into the first couple years of the 2000s, we were still seeing some of that.
I guess that's true. And, the 2007 was around when, I think that was when the first Call of Duty Modern Warfare game came out. So we're getting into prime Doritos and Mountain Dew kind of era.
Yeah.
Well,
video games were ramping up.
Xbox.
And they were getting better and
Yeah.
better and better.
Yep,
And the 2000s was a real good time for that growth.
it was. When the fossils were first discovered in Norway, which were not only larger than any other known pliosaur, but also relatively complete, it garnered the nickname Predator X and received extensive media attention, some even dubbing it the most fearsome animal to ever swim the oceans.
Well, we'll let the paleontologists debate on that one in circles.
Yeah, I feel like Mosasaurus would like to have a word with you about that Predator X.
I feel like even Megalodon,
Yeah, or Megalodon, or Leviathan, or...
Dunkleosteus would like
Dunkleosteus.
to have a few words in there. Zephactinus was pretty terrifying.
Zephactinus was pretty terrifying. Tylosaurus. That was the mosasaur that the Aquaman villain Orm rode in Aquaman. According to the director, that was a Tylosaurus. Good on
I feel
him.
like there's a few modern sea creatures that, even though they're
Orcas.
smaller, would like to have some words.
Orcas, great white sharks.
Half the jellyfish in Australia.
Oh, I guess that's true. Oh, yeah, it doesn't have to be about size, does it?
No, it really doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think anything could kill you as quickly as a box jellyfish. Even...
There's a couple contenders in Australia.
I guess that's... Well, I mean, in terms of sea creatures. Although maybe, the sea snakes. I don't know.
There's a cone snail, the geographic cone snail.
Oh, okay.
They're sometimes called the cigarette snail because you have as long as it takes to smoke a cigarette before you're dead.
Oh, wow. But even, if, a mosasaur just ate you, I feel like it would take longer than 3 minutes for you to die because it'd be big enough for you to be swallowed whole.
Probably.
Although Mosasaurus, now I think about it, had these teeth in the back of its throat.
Oh, great. So it's a glorified moray eel.
Yeah, so actually maybe so yeah, if a mosasaur got you and shredded you and maybe that could kill you quicker than a box jellyfish. Probably a less painful death then, though.
Probably.
I don't know, but
But yeah, Predator X, there's a few sea creatures that would like to have words with you about who is the most terrifying.
yeah, exactly. But the media likes to exaggerate stuff. It's all about the ratings.
Of course, the ratings.
Sensationalism. I really need to stop going on Twitter because the amount of times people yell at each other on Twitter or yell at you on Twitter,
Right.
even if it's like people I agree with, like it still makes me really tense. Like I see a lot of people on Twitter who are saying like, we gotta end the filibuster or America is dead, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and as much as I think, yeah, we should get rid of the filibuster, the way they keep saying it, it's like they're yelling at me. End the filibuster, Matt! Don't you want America to survive, Matt? I'm like, I'm doing everything I can here.
Right? Some people on the internet, y'all need to take a chill pill.
Yeah, calm down, guys.
Take a chill
This
pill.
is just the next series of problems humanity has to solve for itself. There will always be more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not the end. Still
But
keep
sometimes
fighting.
we
but-
gotta focus on the practical problems that we can solve today.
Exactly. This particular species of Pliosaurus, that's so big, its full scientific name is Pliosaurus funkei. Funkei, after Bjorn Funke, the discovery of the holotype. Yes, funky. I'll stick to Predator X, thank you.
Funky, what is this now, the 70s?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Predator X is 90s and 2000s. Funky is the 70s, man.
Well, funky was still I was around people that would use funky in the 90s.
Yeah, that's true.
And the word dude.
Dude, well, that was more 80s when that. I mean, that was around for a while, but the 80s is when that got real popular, right?
Yeah, and it survived well into the 90s and early 2000s.
So I still say dude, but oftentimes it's like a way to like, again, when talking to someone on Twitter or something, to calm people down, like, dude, guys, we'll figure this out. We'll end the filibuster someday, dude.
Right? I mean, you can kind of tell someone grew up between the 80s and the 90s when they use dude as the most gender and species and just all-around neutral term.
That's true. I think dude is gender neutral.
It is.
And I know some people disagree with this, and that's fine, but I think guys is gender neutral too. Like, hey guys.
It can be.
Like, some people
Context.
disagree, and I get that.
Context, really.
Yeah, like, it depends on what you're saying. But
you're
if I'm
asking
just
people to pay attention.
if I'm just like, hey guys, you know, I say that to girls a lot, so and they don't seem to mind, or maybe they do and they don't tell me. But anyways,
Again, context is everything.
anyways, just know I mean no harm from it. Another species of Pliosaurus, Plesiosaurus Macromeris, is only known from a 9.2 foot / 2.8 meter long mandible. This is what I was talking about earlier. And generally for Pliosaurs, the skull is 1/7 of the total length. So if it's true for this, it might have been up
oh
to
my goodness.
59 feet / 18 meters long, the length of a mosasaur or a megalodon.
In which case, that might be a contender for the most terrifying ocean predator.
Yeah, I feel like mosasaurs are faster though.
Probably.
Like Pliosaurs have like bigger fins and like smaller tails. So like they use kind of their fins to propel themselves.
yeah, but dolphins can go incredibly fast.
Well, I know, but they use their tails.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So like this is be like a sea turtle where it uses just its fins, so it'd be slower, I think. Like a bososaur would also use
but it
its
was
tail.
probably a good deal more agile because it could adjust its angle.
It's more
a little bit.
maneuverable. I just don't know if it's faster.
That is a good question.
So I don't know. Like,
But sometimes in a fight with animals or an aircraft, the maneuverability is what seals it.
that's true. That's true. But I feel like a mosasaur, since it has a more snake-like body, since it's related to lizards and snakes, it could like just slither through the water. Although maybe I'm just imagining it in Aquaman where it slithers super fast with Orm riding it, and then at the end there's a scene where it like they go up to the surface to have the final showdown of the mosasaurus, or the Tylosaurus, I should say, leaps like 50 to 100 feet in the air before like going back down. It's great.
Movies.
I love that movie. That
That
movie's
was one of DC's better movies.
It's just so bonkers and yet so earnest in its bonkersness. I love it. Anyways, so this creature is more like what more people assumed Liopleurodon was after watching it unleash its Jurassic carnage and walking with dinosaurs. Although only half to 2/3 of the size is how that monster was depicted, which is still better than a fifth of the size like the actual Liopleurodon was. In fact, though, a former species of Liopleurodon is also actually now known as a synonym of Pliosaurus.
Interesting.
Meaning that maybe Walking with Dinosaurs meant that as its representative.
Could be. We'd
Although-
have to go ask the producers.
Yeah, my theory, though, is that since BBC produced Walking with Dinosaurs and Pleurodon is known mainly from England, but also France, but mainly England, they did the British version of America, America, and greatly exaggerated the animal that represented
be
their
surprised.
homeland.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's my theory, anyways.
Yeah, we'd have to go ask the producers.
Yeah, speaking of, like, documentaries, though, like dinosaur documentaries like that, remember how I said that scene in Planet Dinosaur where it's hunting a Macromeris was based off of a real story? Well, fossils of the contemporary plesiosaur Macromeris have been found with bite marks that match those of Pliosaurus,
Oh, that's cool.
which is where the Planet Dinosaur got the basis for their scene depicting that attack.
Nice.
It's always cool to see the evidence of how these animals interacted with each other.
It really is cool to see that. And then they put it on film.
Yeah. My favorite fossil, and this is probably true of a lot of people, of dinosaurs or other creatures interacting with each other is the Velociraptor and Protoceratops skeleton, where they're in mid-combat. You know that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that one's great.
Who doesn't know about that if they love dinosaurs?
That's true. Oh, it was so cool. So cool. Like, I love the webcomic I saw of it, though, of like it happened more mundanely than we thought. Like, Velociraptor and a Protoceratops got stuck in a tar pit. They're trying to climb on each other to get out, and they're like, "Dude, it's like you're weighing me down. Look, stop biting my hand. I'm trying to get up here. What?" And just yell at each other. It's like, guys, nah!" And then that's how they die. So, anyways, we get to rate Pliosaurus 1 out of 65 million. So I'm gonna give it like a 60 million. It's pretty cool.
It is a pretty cool creature. I mean, just for its 90s nostalgia, it does deserve that 60 million.
Yeah.
The fact that they stuck a straight up 90s joke into its name.
Oh, man. This is related to 90s stuff. I know we've been derailing a lot on this episode. That's Paleo Bites for you in a nutshell.
Our listeners will love it.
Yeah. Do you know those times when they merged certain DC and Marvel superheroes together?
Oh, yes.
And they the one they did that was the most 90s thing I've ever seen is when they merged Batman and Wolverine together.
I think I've seen that one.
Oh, have you seen the costume?
That's obnoxious.
That is obnoxious, and it's Logan Wayne is the character. And
yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't read those comics yet.
Batman is only as interesting as he is because he has no powers. If you give Batman Wolverine powers, he's unstoppable. Like,
Whichever way would be terrifying for the universe he's in.
yeah, like Batman on his own can already defeat Superman because he's smart enough to know what to do and how to exploit the kryptonite. But to have Batman and give him Wolverine powers, that's too much.
Yeah, it is kind of going over the top there.
Yeah, that healing factor, oh man, you just couldn't there's nothing.
Are we keeping the intelligence of Batman, or are we tempering it with Wolverine's intelligence?
Is Wolverine not intelligent, or?
He's intelligent, but he's very, very impulsive, and I would say that he's less so than Batman.
Yeah, Batman's more methodical, so.
Batman is very, very methodical. Wolverine's an excellent tracker, but Batman is too.
I feel like in order to balance him out, yeah, I'd have to be kind of more.
You'd have to temper the intelligence.
Yeah.
In which case, it becomes a little less obnoxious, but still obnoxious.
Oh, man, if I ever talk about comics on the show, it needs to be about Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
I have a couple volumes of that.
Ooh, we should do that for the Patreon at some point. All right, well, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me at mattd@methadoncareer.com. For any general questions to any of the co-hosts, I can relay all the questions. I have also have another podcast called The Writ Wit, where two twits talk about writting. And I also have a book series on Amazon, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle. There is no Pliosaurus in it, unfortunately. The only sea creatures I really have are Mosasaurus and Tylosaurus and Elasmosaurus. And just more creatures from the late Cretaceous, because that's mainly when it takes place. Although I do mix and match dinosaurs or creatures from other eras. Also, if you could rate this show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, that'd be great. Helps the algorithm, whatever that means. What is this algorithm everyone keeps talking about? Natasha's shrugging. All right, well, that's it for this week. As we say at the end of every episode of Paleo Bites, what does this thing make? Most sea creatures are silent,
Most of them are.
except for whales.
I don't know, let's end with the most 90s joke we can.
Oh.
It's extreme!
It's extreme! say, let's get ready to rumble. Da 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 da.
See you next week, folks.
Bye.